right? And we heard the single Atonement, which was great, right? If you can relate Atonement as a
Hmm.
movie scene, which movie will be and how it will be like?
I think. I'm also actually thinking of the Matrix, like the fight, like where like Agent Smith like finds him at his work. I
Right.
think for I don't know why. There's no reason, but that's the only thing that comes to mind.
Right. So, the video shoot in Scranton,
Hmm.
mythical, where the office was recorded, right?
Yeah.
Right. So, are you a fan of The Office?
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't. So I was a huge fan of the UK Office, and I've only just started watching the US Office. But from what I've watched so far, I think it's really great. I've never watched it all the way through, but I will do eventually.
Right. So, imagine Dwight. So, if Dwight was a fan of a band, it will be more into Employed to Serve or into Slipknot.
Oh, I think probably Employed to Serve because I feel like he's a bit more underground. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Slipknot are a big fan. I feel like Dwight kind of like he's like yeah he's always sort of like looking for the niche things. So I think maybe Employed to Serve for that reason.
Okay. Good. And having Will Ramos on the track, excellent choice. So,
Thank you.
how that idea came about, and how it was like in the studio.
So whilst we were writing the song, we wrote this vocal section and we literally thought to ourselves like how great it would be if Will Ramos did this part. Um, Sorry, I lost you there. But yeah, we literally wrote it and like yeah, we thought he would be perfect for that track. And yeah, we just asked him and he was up for it, which is really cool. He recorded his vocal parts at his house in America. So yeah, we he didn't come to the studio, but he was able to send out his vocal recordings to us to mix into the album.
Right. Cool. Right. So, besides that song, which track do you think from Fallen Start was the most emotionally challenging to finish?
Ooh, I guess I'm trying to think. Probably Brother. Stand Beside Me, I guess. That's probably the best. Like, that's probably the most emotionally charged one, I think.
Oh, cool. Right. So, when you were writing the album or recording the album, what was the most honest or difficult conversation you have between the band, like decision wise? Can you remember?
Decision wise. I think they're all like pretty much the same in the sense that like we're all quite what's the word? We're quite when we sort of like listen back to demos and things, we're quite honest with things that aren't working in terms of the song and the structure. So I think most of them we were pretty brutally honest with each other in terms of like what was working and what wasn't for the track. But I think that's because we've got quite a good working relationship with each other. So yeah, pretty much most of it really. Like it was all very much like dissected and yeah, and spoken about.
Oh, cool. So, Justin, your vocal approach, does it shift when you are singing about empowerment instead of rage or pure frustration, or it doesn't change?
I'd say it probably does, like subconsciously, and also like I guess doing vocals is sort of almost like like not acting, but like kind of like it's supposed to sort of portray the emotion that you're sort of trying to get across. So I guess it would like change velocity and sort of aggressiveness. With this album, I really tried to sort of mix up my vocal styles a bit more, mainly because I had more time in the studio to do that. And yeah, so yeah, I think it kind of mixes up.
Right. Yeah. You know, when I first started listening to Employ to Self, for me, it was more about like a madcore chaotic band, and it was really cool, right? And now that I hear this album, Fallen, and I think it's more melodic and it has spans more between metal. So, what surprised you yourself being in the band? What surprised you the most about this evolution?
I think. I think it's just like interesting when I look back on the different influences because we listen to a lot of records. I like the fact that we can hear what we were into at the time, and I think it's quite exciting, like the direction we've gone in because we kind of felt like we did all we could in that sort of realm, the mathcore realm, and it was something that we were very into when we were younger. But now, like we sort of gone back to our sort of more metal roots. Like we've always grown up with bands like Killswitch Engage, Fear Factory, Slipknot, and bands like that. So I think, yeah, it's quite nice to kind of go back to those sort of like the first bands that got us into metal, and that's kind of like what we're emulating now.
Right?
Um, it's a bit more exciting, I think, for us personally, because I can feel like there's more scope to change and things like that. Because we felt quite confined when we were like writing more mathcore stuff.
Yeah. You mentioned metal bands, but let's talk about non-metal bands that probably have influence on this new album that is not very obvious. Are there non-metal bands that has influenced you?
I think me personally and performance wise, I definitely like I listen to a lot of early 2000s R&B and I really like Bjork and like artists like her. So I think sometimes it might come through, but not directly. But like I feel like I'm always very inspired by those people and the sort of energy they bring to their music and the stage. So I guess indirectly those bands really. So Bjork and probably Destiny's Child because I listen to them daily. So
Right. So as you mentioned before, you're gonna tour with Killswitch Engage, right? Which is gonna be great. You know, these kind of bands have been for so long and they have so many albums. Do you think that it is more probable for them to fall into autopilot mode when releasing so many albums, like 15 or 16 albums in their discography?
I guess so. I get it. I think until I'm at that point myself, it will always be hard to sort of grasp. I can imagine like after so long, you do feel like yourself going through the motions of it. But I should imagine like it ebbs and flows. Like I suppose like everyone goes through phases in life where they're sort of just on autopilot, right? So I guess it might sort of vary record to record.
Right, right. Okay. So, you spoke before about R&B from 2000. Can you think about Fallen Star being rearranged acoustically or electronically? Do you see that album in that way, or it's not
I
possible?
think I think certain tracks, yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine Fallen Star being one. Familiar Pain, I think, can be, and same with like Last Laugh. There's a couple of tracks I think can be rearranged to something that's not metal.
Cool.
The whole album.
So, if Fallen Star had a smell or a color, do you see it?
Yeah,
Can you smell it? What will it be?
I think I want to say Satsuma, like an orange. Like the sun's like spherical, but also it's always also orange. So I think of oranges and things like that.
Right. Okay, so here in Spain right now, we are us in the rest of Europe, we're gonna have festivals, summer festivals, but it's something very important that came out recently, and is that many of these festivals are associated with trust fund funds that are related to Israel, right? And a lot of bands, especially hardcore and punk bands, are saying, okay, we don't want to play on those festivals. I think something similar happened in the UK a couple of years ago when maybe some festivals were associated with Barclays, right?
Oh yeah.
And they didn't want to play on those festivals, right? Especially hardcore bands like Skull, they canceled their tour and everything, right? How do you see this being in a band? Is it's a different or a difficult decision for you if you have already planned everything for going on tour, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's yeah. I mean, I think it's really admirable. And it's really exciting to see how much of an influence bands have on like how companies like operate and how yeah, how like because you essentially vote with your money, right? With how what you think should exist and shouldn't and things like that. So I think yeah, I think it's very hard for bands to make that decision because you don't get things like deposits back and you still have to pay crew and things like that. So yeah, like I think I think it's very impressive and admirable when bands put themselves in bad financial situations to not play these festivals. Yeah.
Right. So going back to Fallen Start, when you were writing and recording this album, did you learn anything new that you didn't know before?
Did I learn anything new? Not massively. I guess the main thing would be that I think we finally booked in the right number of days in the studio. That for the first time in 5 albums, like we had enough time for once. That really I think came across to me personally because I was able to record one or two songs a day
Hmm.
instead of trying to do several. Because like I'm like good for like 2 hours, and then after that, like that's when my voice starts blowing out or I start losing concentration. So being able to have that sort of luxury of being able to space out recording the album in that way, I feel like it's really benefited and something that I would like to do moving forwards is like, yeah, sort of breaking up my recording days.
Okay. So if you can see yourself as a teenager starting into music and you can play to that teenage yourself one of the songs from Fallen Star, which song it will be?
Oh, that's a great question. Oh, probably Familiar Pain, mainly because that's probably my favorite track from the album. I think it's our most sort of I guess catchy. It's the one that was stuck in my mind after recording it the most. So I think that one.
Great. So for sure we will see you here playing in Spain on that tour that is you're playing with Killswitch Engage. Is also coming to Madrid and Barcelona. From your previous experiences, what do you like about playing in this part of Europe, in the south? Italy,
I like
Spain,
how
Portugal.
I like your weather and I like how chilled out it is. Like it's a different vibe. Like over like the rest of Europe or like UK, everything's a lot more rushed and just a bit more regimented. Whereas like I feel like in Portugal, Italy, and Spain, like it feels a lot more like laid back, which is quite nice. It's a different vibe and yeah, it's cool.
Cool. Well, just to finish the interview, do you have a favorite venue in the world and probably one that Ploy to Shave didn't play yet? Imagine that you can play any venue in the world. Like I don't know, have you seen Pink Floyd in Pompeii, for example? That would be amazing,
I haven't watched that yet.
right? Yeah, something like
Is it
that. Imagine a place or a venue that I don't
good?
know, it's very famous or it's legendary. Which one will you choose for a show?
Oh, I'm trying to think. Hmm. I think I'd quite like to play the O2 Arena in London because I saw Kendrick Lamar there and I saw Bullet for My Valentine play there and Evanescence and it's a very like it sounds like a really good venue and I'd love to play in front of that many people indoors
Hmm.
because I feel like playing in front of lots of people indoors versus at a festival outside is a very different feel from on
Right.
stage. I'd quite like to play there, I think. It'd be pretty cool.
Right. Have you checked Well from a Valentine on this last tour with Trivian on
Yeah,
the
that's where I
website?
saw them. I saw them when they played the O2 Arena in London.
Right.
So yeah, I think I'd love to play there really.
Cool. Well, Justin, thank you so much for your time and for the interview.